The other night I saw Lee Wanell's Wolfman, and no, that is not a euphemism, it's a movie. I saw this movie in an empty cinema. Granted, it was a 9 PM showing on a Wednesday night, so maybe people had better things to do. But then again, people just don't love cinema as much as I do. Wolfman is a simple story about a family consisting of a young daughter, a mother who is possibly closeted, and a father who is also possibly closeted. After discovering the news that the father's father is deceased, the family travel to the father's house, which is out in the woods, to collect the belongings of the deceased father of the father. And along the way, they naturally encounter the Wolfman. Being a horror film about wolves, specifically werewolves, the question you may be asking is, was it scary? Well, slightly, but I did manage to hold my urine in, which in itself is an achievement because I have the bladder of a young boy. Literally. As my other organs continue to grow, my bladder stayed the same size. Weird, I know, but I have to live with it. Due to the context of this film, many will try to compare it with classics such as An American Werewolf in London. However, I believe that this is the wrong approach. For instance, I recently tried an Australian delicacy called a Tim Tam. And although a Tim Tam is similar to a British biscuit known as a penguin, they're both chocolate biscuits with chocolate in the middle covered in chocolate. The penguin has the cultural taste of Britain, cups of tea, the royal family, and Holly Willoughby. On the other hand, the Tim Tam has the more unique taste of Australia, kangaroos, sandy beaches, and drinking pints of beer out of shoes. So the point I'm trying to make is, even though they are similar ideas, they are not the same thing, and therefore you shouldn't compare them. You should enjoy them equally. But unlike the penguin biscuit or the Tim Tam, I would not like to indulge in Wolfman again. Now let's talk about the pros and cons of the film, or as I like to call it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's a film reference. Unlike many films today, Wolfman wasn't overly long. It was no 3.5 hours, it didn't need an interval, it was a nice, concise story which ultimately took place in the one setting. I also thoroughly enjoyed seeing the change in perception between the werewolf's point of view and the normal people's point of view. I thought it was cleverly edited and really gave something extra and creative to the film. It reminded me a bit of myself in the fact that I tend to see the world differently from most other people. But unfortunately, that's just the creative curse for you. If I'm honest, I hated most of the characters in this film, especially a couple of the main characters, and not to give any spoilers away, but the characters that I did like perished. So that was pretty upsetting.
Shut your fuck nugget mouth and get the hell out.
To get more specific, and trust me, I take no pride in saying this, but there is something that I find very punchable about this woman's face. Again, I can't explain it, but every time she's on screen, it fills me with a burning rage. And during the course of the whole movie, I was very much hoping that she would soon be ravaged by a werewolf. Finally, the biggest problem that I had with this film was the Wolfman himself. He was literally the ugly. In fact, I don't really like to call him the Wolfman because I feel that's being a bit over the top. I would more refer to him as a man-wolf. He wasn't full Wolfman. The transition from regular man to man-wolf was a bit too quick for my liking. And one of the first symptoms was losing his hair, which didn't really make sense to me because I thought he'd become hairier. Plus, if a receding hairline was an indicator that you were about to turn into a werewolf, I wouldn't go out on the town when there's a full moon out, that's all I'm saying. Seeing the man-wolf reminded me of a time when I was younger and I was staying at my friend's house, and during the middle of the night I had to pee, as I still had my small bladder back then. In fact, it was even smaller at the time. And in the corridor, I bumped into my friend's dad, who also needed to pee. Seeing him in nothing but his underwear garments was frightening. How can a man be so hairy, yet so bald at the same time? Naturally, that memory has stuck with me and scarred me for life, frankly. His name was Frank, actually.